All right, I guess we're live. Welcome, everyone. My name is Johan Stokking. I am tech lead, co-founder of the Things Network, and CTO of the Things Industries. And I'd like to welcome you to the webinar today about the Things Stack. That's our LoRaWAN server stack, and I'm going to show you how to deploy a network. Today we're broadcasting live from rainy Amsterdam. Wherever you are, I hope you are safe and healthy. And I'm very glad that you have joined the webinar today. At the end of the webinar, we have a Q&A. And so if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat and to put your question there. And at the end of the webinar, I will have time to answer your questions. So let's get started. Our stack is designed both for small scale and large scale deployments. When I just looked at our metrics, we have around 15,500 gateways connected globally, and that is just to the community network. So that's not counting the gateways that we have connected to our customer networks. And we are routing a bit more than 400 packets, LoRaWAN packets per second. So that's quite a lot already. That is more than, let's say, 80% more than in January this year when we had the Things conference. So LoRaWAN traffic is increasing rapidly. And what's good to mention here is that this infrastructure, so connecting 15,500 gateways and routing 400 packets per second, is already powered by the Things stack together with Packet Broker. And I will tell you a bit later, a bit more about that today in the webinar. So what we're going to do, I will go through a walkthrough and a demo, live demonstration, where you'll see how to configure a gateway, connect a device, and to configure some integrations, and you'll see some data flowing just to get you an idea of how our product works. Then I'm going to show you the roadmap, so the things that we have in the pipeline, and then we can go to the questions and answers. So let's get started. Yeah, let me switch the screen here. Perfect. So this is the login screen for our sandbox environment. That's what I'm going to use today. And I can log in here. And if you're used to the Things stack or the Things network, that is still running on V2. That's our former product. And you know the console, then this looks pretty familiar to you. So we have applications and gateways here that you can manage. And here in the bottom, there's some version information and the different components. So let's first go to see the gateways. So I already have 2 gateways connected here. One is a multi-tag gateway that I have here on my desk. It's connected via Wi-Fi to our company network. Yeah, you can see here that it's connected. It's last seen just a few seconds ago. Yeah, you can see where it is on the map. And whenever the gateway receives a message, you'll see that here appearing in the live data feed. So it's sending, receiving gateway status, but it can also show messages whenever there is one, but there's no data at the moment. So that's the gateway view. You can dive into that and see all the details here of each packet. This is a gateway status, for example. So let's go ahead and to the applications. So let's go back to the overview and then to applications. And this is where you can add applications and manage your applications. And applications are basically a configuration for a group of devices. And you can You can group devices in an application, and you can have some common configuration for those devices, and you can manage access on the application level. So I created a new application for the webinar, and I already added a few devices here. So there are 2 devices now, and for the demo I can show you what it looks like to add a new device. So on my desk I have a TAPS device. It is a motion sensor from Connected Things. That's also one of our resellers, and that's a really nice simple device that shows the sensor message whenever there's some motion. When you add a new device here, we have a really nice wizard to enter the settings. So this is an over-the-air activation device. I can select here the LoRaWAN version, and then I can enter device ID. So this is the device ID. I can enter the API. So I have everything here at hand. The UI, and I can add a name here just for better readability. Okay, you can select the frequency plan. Now, if you're onboarding hundreds of devices at once, you're not going through this UX because that would be way too much work. So for all these steps, we have API and CLI as well. I won't go into the details of that, but if you want to automate these steps, you can easily do that by using our APIs directly or using our command line utility. So you can integrate the onboarding in your scripts, for example. If you're not using an external join server, then you can enter here the root key, and this is basically all you need to do to connect this new device. So this is a new device. I can remove the plastic here, and then if everything goes well, this device will join, and you will see that here immediately in the live data feed. There are different ways to get data. So let's while we wait for this device to join, we can also go to a TAPS device that I already created, and that's here on my desk. So this device is already set up, and I have it here. And if this device sends a message, you will see that here in the data feed. So this is what it looks like when a device sends a message. So we have different events here, and maybe at first it's quite overwhelming to see. We're also improving this view to make the events a little bit more readable. But what you see here is that there is an event from the application server. This is the raw event data that contains all the information about one uplink message that the device just sent. So this is the JSON payload. We have here the identifiers of the device, so the device ID, the application that the device belongs to, as well as the EUIs and the current device address that it has. We also have some correlation IDs, and this is really useful for diagnostics. So this can be used to, when there's something not going right, you can dig into the logs and in the events and see what is going wrong. And here is information about the uplink message. So here you see common LoRaWAN information like the F-port, frame counters, frame payload, also the decoded payload, which is the result from a payload function, and some RX metadata. So this is information from the gateway, so signal quality, location of the data, and things like that. We'll also see here the data rate that's used by the end device. So a lot of information from one message, and that is super useful for applications. We really see LoRaWAN as a last mile. So a lot of LoRaWAN networks are really about the network itself, but we see LoRaWAN really as a means to connecting things over long range using very little power. And this means that we didn't decide to develop an IoT platform. In fact, we really focus on LoRaWAN as a network connectivity layer. And even though we have some device management, we focus on integrating with existing IoT platforms and making it really easy for you as a developer or a solutions architect to work with your data. So all this information that you see here is not only available in the console, but you can also get this information via different ways. For example, using MQTT or HTTP webhooks, or using integrations with your favorite IoT platform for visualization, storage, analytics, etc. Let's see. Yeah. So this device has joined. So this was my the device that I just added. I'll also put that here just for demonstration purposes. I also have here on my desk the good old The Things Uno from 2016, still going strong. And I'm going to connect this as well, so we have some data during the live feed. Quickly go to this device and show you what it looks like when a device joins. So when I power on this device, you will see in a few seconds that it joins and that it gets a device address, etc. So this is what happens, and then it starts sending data. All right, so let me show you then what it looks like to work with data. So we have different ways to get data. One of the recommended ways for application developers to get streaming data is via our HTTP webhooks. And to show you that, you can go here on the left, integrations, and then webhooks. And you can add a new webhook integration. We have a few existing templates, and we're adding a few more. We're also fixing this image. And you can go here and add a custom webhook. And this would be configuring an endpoint on a server that you control. So I'm going to show here what that looks like and create a new request bin. So this is just for development for testing. So this creates temporary URL that I'm going to use to send the data to. So that is the base URL. You can get the data in JSON format or in protocol buffers, which is a bit more bandwidth efficient. And you can add some headers here. So you probably want to secure your endpoint with an authorization header. And you can add any header you want. And here you select which messages you want to receive. So I'm now configuring only uplink messages and device activations, but you can also get all the events related to downlink messages. So if you schedule a downlink message, for example, you get the downlink queued event when the downlink actually got sent, or when it got acknowledged or not acknowledged. You can get events for that, which is really useful. So I'm going to add it here, and then it's configured. And now when the end device sends a message, so let me go back here and wait for the next message that the things Uno sends. Here we go. We can go here to the request bin and refresh the page, and here you'll see what a request looks like. So this would be all the information that the thing stack sends to your platform. So you see here, obviously, the user agent, that's our application server. Here you see the authorization header that I just added. And here you have the raw body, which is basically all the information that I also showed you a few minutes ago in the console. So we'll send you everything, all the metadata, everything that your application possibly needs to process it further. So that's HTTP integration. It's recommended because it's really easy to scale both on your end and on our end. You can also use MQTT, which is a really popular way of working with streaming data. And for this, I will give a short demo with Node-RED, which is also very popular for prototyping. So I have Node-RED running here locally. And using MQTT, starting with an MQTT in node, I can add a new MQTT broker. And the server here, I need to enter the server and some credentials. And here in our console, you can see exactly what you need to enter here. So here in MQTT, we have a encrypted and a non-encrypted endpoint. You obviously want to use the encrypted endpoint. So the address here and the port 8883. So we're going to enable TLS, verifying the server certificates, and not using a client certificate. Instead, we're going to use a username password authentication. So the username is here. It's webinar at the tenant ID, and the password is an API key. So you can create an API key here on the fly, which only has access to streaming data. So that's it. And then I can, because we are sending JSON objects, the node can already parse that for you. And we are going to subscribe to all events. All right. And I can connect that to a debug node just to show you what that looks like. And then as soon as the end device sends a message, you will see that here on the right, and it will already be parsed by Node-RED as a JSON object. So this is what it looks like. This is collapsed. You can go in here and you can see all the data again, just exactly the same as what I just showed you in the console. So that's using MQTT. Again, super easy to get data. Finally, what I wanted to show is the AWS integration, and that's our brand new integration for connecting with AWS IoT. So the low-level way to get data is via HTTP and MQTT, but you can also use a IoT platform like AWS IoT, and we're also building an integration with Azure IoT for those using Microsoft Azure. So we have some nice documentation about this, and what the AWS IoT integration supports is not only uplink and downlink messages, so you'll see all the messages in AWS, but you can also create devices in the AWS IoT console. And you can even, and that's something that we are adding to the next version that we have in the pipeline. You can even let the payload encryption and decryption be carried out in your AWS account, so that the application session key is only known in your AWS account for additional security. So what this looks like, it's a very simple CloudFormation template. So you can go here. These are our public docs of our enterprise stack. And you can go here in the integration section, AWS IoT deployment guide. And there are some very simple instructions to get started. And here is a very simple button to launch the CloudFormation template directly in your AWS account. So you can select the region here and then deploy for cloud hosted, and that takes you straight to the AWS console. And here you can enter the parameters that are necessary for setting up the AWS IoT integration. So you can select the thing type that you want to use in AWS. You can configure the address that you're using for the thing stack. So we are now on the sandbox in EU1, but you can configure here your own tenant ID or your own cluster if you have a self-hosted environment, the application ID, and an API key, and then you can basically create a stack. So I already did this, and this is already up and running here in our sandbox account. And what happens then is that every time a device sends a message, a thing gets created automatically in AWS IoT. So this is the things that I have here, and you'll see here the Dev UI. But you can also dive in here, go to the shadows, and get some metrics from the device, which can be really useful. You can subscribe to streaming data, so you can go here and subscribe to the message flow, and then we'll wait a bit for this device to send a message. Well, yes, here we go. So here you see the message, so it goes in the console, but it also gets streamed automatically right into your AWS account with exactly the same JSON object with all the information that you need. And now that it's here in your AWS account, you can go and use AWS IoT and all its features to work directly with your streaming data. You can also use AWS IoT to onboard new things. So I just showed you how to create a new thing in the Thing Stack console, but you can also use the AWS IoT integration to create devices. So here in the things management, you can go ahead and register a single AWS IoT thing. I have here another device that is this one, Tabs Motion. There is a thing type which gets deployed automatically when you deploy the CloudFormation stack. So you can select here LoRaWAN, and then you'll get here some attributes that you need to enter. So this is just some magic that is all documented. And again, you don't need to use this view for adding devices one by one, but you can also use the AWS SDK to automate this process. You need to enter a few additional attributes for the Lambda function to pick up the creation commands. So we're going to say the LoRaWAN version. This is 1.2 device, original parameters version. And the app key, which is the root key. Again, not using a join server. We have a global join server. I'll come back to that in a bit. And we'll also integrate with other commercial join servers, so you don't have to copy paste root keys anymore, which is obviously not what you want to be doing. And then you can go ahead and create a thing. And what happens then in the back is that a Lambda function picks up this creation command and creates a device here. And you also see events showing up here. And this, let's see, the 8B8F. Yeah, this one is the device that I just created from the AWS console. So it gets automatically created for you, which is quite convenient because this allows you to manage your devices in AWS IoT directly. You can also delete a device here. So let me go back here to the device overview. Now I have 4 devices, and I can select this device, action, delete, and it's gone here. And if I go back to the console, refresh this page, it's gone here as well. So you can manage your things directly in AWS. Again, we're also building this integration for Azure IoT. We also have a marketplace listing. So this is using our cloud-hosted deployment. So that's infrastructure that it's operated by us, by the Things Industries. If you want to run the stack in your own AWS account on an EC2 instance, you can go to the AWS marketplace and find the Things Enterprise Stack listing. And here you can subscribe to the Things Enterprise Stack that will then be deployed in your AWS account as an EC2 instance. So you can fully control where the stack is running. And you will be paying for the number of devices that you have in your account. And yeah, this way, again, we are not building an IoT platform. We are building an IoT ecosystem, and we focus on the connectivity layer. But we spend a lot of time enabling developers to work directly with their data so that they can build solutions on top of our technology. So let's go to what else do I want to show you? Let's see, are there any questions at this point? No, I don't think so, not yet. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot in the chat. And I will go back quickly. Oh no, what I wanted to show is Packet Broker. That's really one of my favorite topics. So I have the multi-tag gateway here, probably very familiar to most of you guys. And this is now receiving data from my Things Uno. But with Packet Broker, we interconnect networks. And so we have an integration between the cloud-hosted environment that I have here and the Things network, the community network. And that means that if this gateway disconnects for some reason, or if I want to receive traffic also that's picked up by those 15,500 community network gateways, you can use Packet Broker to get your traffic. So let me go back to the Things Uno device that I have here. and then to the live data feed. And just for demonstration purposes, I will show you the metadata of one packet. So here we have, yeah, this is it. Going here into the metadata, sometimes you'll see an actual gateway, and sometimes you'll see a gateway ID packet broker. And then there is some additional metadata that is sent by packet broker, showing, for example, that this packet was also picked up by a gateway connected to our staging environment, which is a different network. But this all gets routed to your tenant. And that means that if you disconnect this gateway, and I will show you that that actually works. So I have here this gateway, and I'm going to unplug it. So now it's dead. And this gateway will go offline in a few seconds. The packets are still being received, but then only via packet broker. So here you see that the gateway is now disconnected. So yeah, so back to this device with the live data feed. I disconnected a gateway, but you still see traffic coming in. So if I go to the metadata of this message and scroll down a little bit, you will see that the message has not been received by an actual gateway connected to your account, but it was received via packet broker. But for you, for your application, it doesn't matter because it's just there. So we have now enabled this for the Things Network and cloud hosted. And we will allow in the future private networks also to configure this among each other, and also to monetize gateway infrastructure. So let me quickly go to the roadmap. Yes, roadmap. So fourth quarter of this year, that started today, basically. We are going to offer the ThingStack Cloud with SLA. We already have customers using the ThingStack Cloud, but we're very happy and confident with it, and that we can offer a service level agreement of 99.9%. We'll also be deploying the first community network cluster on V3 that will run side by side with the current V2 network. The AWS IoT integration and the SaaS marketplace listing is going to be live, as well as single sign-on. So we are getting, you get one account, your existing Things Network account, that you can use on the community network, V2, V3, the forum, the community pages, and everything. Next year, we have device claiming, which is already available partly, but we're going to make it a bit more user-friendly and also integrated with the global join server. The device repository, which was also announced last January, and the device repository will contain information about end devices, including their LoRaWAN profile, but also payload formats, so you don't have to enter those manually anymore when you know what device it is. And then next year, in the second quarter, we're going to be releasing features for getting more insight in your end devices and gateways. So metrics like uptime, but also channel time, alerts that you can configure. We already have these basic information and events available, but we're going to make it more user-friendly. And finally, the packet broker marketplace, and that will allow you to buy and sell network capacity. And so, for example, if you are an infrastructure operator and you're deploying gateways, you can sell that capacity to networks that want to make use of that. And this is going to be a very simple model based on the number of packets that you are consuming. So the different deployment options, this is quite a dense slide, but I'll go through it quickly. So on the left, you see the 4 deployment options that we have: cloud, dedicated cloud, enterprise, and the AWS launcher. So cloud is what I just showed you in the sandbox environment. Dedicated cloud is your dedicated infrastructure for your network. And both cloud and dedicated cloud are operated by the Things Industries, backed by a service level agreement. And difference is also that the dedicated cloud environment gives you a branding and your own domain name. Both are supporting peering. Then our enterprise model and the AWS launcher allows you to operate the stack yourself. So enterprise is our self-hosted proposition where you can deploy the Things stack in your own server infrastructure. You can also get support for this, and you will be able to connect that also to the packet broker if you want. And finally, we have the AWS launcher, which is the AWS marketplace listing that I just presented, where you can launch the stack in your own AWS account. We also have the open source distribution, so you can go on GitHub and find the Things stack. This is a fully featured LoRaWAN server stack, but you can build it from source. You can operate it yourself using Docker, and you can also connect this to the packet broker. A few things that we only have available in our proprietary distribution is that high availability, multi-tenancy, device claiming, and commercial support, obviously. But it's a good way to get started with a LoRaWAN network. And finally, we have the Things network, and that's our community network that will also support peering. Like I said, we're planning the first community network cluster on Feed 3 later this year. Then I have showed you everything I wanted to show. And I would like to thank you very much for joining this webinar about Things stack. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to us. We also, for everyone who joined the webinar, we have a 1 month free evaluation access available. And the link is, the email address is here. So reach out to sales@thethingindustries.com and get in touch with us, and we'll onboard you for free on the cloud-hosted infrastructure. Well, thanks very much for watching, and we're gonna do. Oh, did I show you the email address? No. Yes, sorry. Here is the email address. So sales@thethingindustries.com for 1 month free evaluation access. All right. Well, thanks very much for watching, and see you next time.